man, you're gonna have to come over here and give me a tour. Give me a session.
Okay, I could do that.
So I can grow up and be like you.
No, stop.
Now, I'm about to make a purchase in podcast equipment, and I got a new show I'm thinking about called I'm Just Saying.
I love that one. You probably got all the equipment you need, but I could definitely come over there and show you what I have as far as my setup.
We get a chance. We get a chance. Google Zoom Pod Track 8.
Oh, that's what I got.
Okay, where'd you get yours?
I got from Guitar
Center.
Guitar Center, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was getting ready to go get mine.
Yeah. They gave me a good deal because I need a couple more mics too because I wanted to be able to record 6 people at one time, and the current setup I had was only for 2 people, and I realized that I might have group sessions, so that's why I want to get that one.
Dr. Simmons is in the house.
Yeah, so you on the right path. You on the right path.
Thank you. That makes me feel good. Thank you.
Yeah, that thing has everything you need, and you can go live with it too. I just did a session where I'm trying to sell to the county, where I did 3 generations of road crew workers to talk about the historical background of how Black people had to maneuver throughout the county and what that took to get to where we're at today. I had one of the guys who doesn't live here anymore. He's over in North Carolina, and I had to connect him through the phone, and I was able to get a really clear signal through that pod track. So I highly recommend it. Like,
excellent. See, this turned out to be great for me, man. I'm getting schooled by the genius, because technology has really changed since I came into the business in 1960s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
From 8 tracks and all that stuff, man. Now we got equipment has gotten better, technology has gotten better, it's gotten cheaper. Yeah. You can put a whole radio station in your room for like $1,000.
Seriously.
Hey.
My setup right now, I could literally probably do a radio show right here from my room.
There you go, and be global at that.
Yeah. So technology has really changed, and just one more note to add to that phone call that came in that I record. You couldn't even tell it was a phone call. It sounded like I don't know how they did it in that thing, but it sounded like he was there with us.
Wow. Okay. Whenever you're ready, I'm ready.
All right, let's get it going. So just a little background knowledge on Raspreneurs. I kind of created this podcast in the middle of the pandemic. Like you, I tried to always go out to the community and give back in whatever way I can.
Yes.
And one of those things that I've done was I used to always go back and speak to the youth. I used to do job fairs and things of that nature. And then what I found out is that our young people have a lot of limiting beliefs on what they can do and what they can be. Cause I would come in there and there's like, you a Black man and you're running the county? Like, there's only one of you. That can't be done. Like, and I'm like, no, there's another brother down the way that's doing something. And then when I went down the entrepreneurship route, because I got the chance to work with Google from some diversity and inclusion stuff, and I met all these amazing, brilliant Black entrepreneurs like yourself. And like, there's just so many of us in many different spaces doing great things and have created and invented stuff, but our stories are not told. And we do a disservice by not letting our stories be out there and told, or when the media doesn't tell them, because then that next generation, they believe that the best path for me out of poverty is to pick up this basketball and dribble, or or sports, and when there's a lot more of us doing great things in different avenues. So I just want to highlight our stories and talk about the journey to where we got to. So, hey, you're the perfect specimen for that.
Well, I give credit to the man upstairs. It's been a journey,
Uh-huh.
uh, and I love the young bucks like yourself, man. Because
Okay.
I tell people, say, I'm not ashamed. There was a song I used to play back in the day by the Temptations. I ain't too proud to beg. I'm not too proud to beg the young bucks, generations X, Y, and Z. Say, hey, show me how to do this. Show me how to do that. Because you guys are take charge type people. And if it wasn't for you guys with Facebook Live and YouTube and Twitter, and now that you can go live on all those social medias, we are just kind of following you all. At least the senior citizens that want to get involved and ain't too proud to beg. And I'm one of them.
Well, I appreciate that. When you get your podcast up, that's what you need to hit YouTube next, because that's what's going to get you a whole nother audience after the podcast. Because I do believe it makes the world smaller, because international, like this podcast, I got people in Africa, I got people in Spain, I got people in Japan. I was like, man, I didn't even know they had black people in Japan, but okay.
Yep. Give me your cell. What's your cell? Direct.
619-829-9241.
9241. And you have mine already, right?
I think William gave it to me, but go ahead and still text me and just say, hey, it's me, and then we'll start messaging each other and see how we can link up.
Good deal. All right.
So let's jump into this thing. So I'm gonna start with a simple question, but it could get deep, and you can take it as far as wide as you want to take it. For the people, who is Dr. Howard?
Wow, that is deep. I sometimes wonder who I am myself. Well, Dr. Howard is a young man. Is a young man who is trying to, first of all, live up to his mother and father's expectations. He's a firm believer in legacy. So I'm the second generation of a black family in the business of broadcasting, spanning 91 years as of this year. My mother was one of the first black females in the United States of America on air, producing 2 shows 6 days a week on radio at WLOU, Louisville, Kentucky, which still broadcasts to this day. Mm-hmm. My father spent 21 years in the business of broadcasting. He was the former tour manager of the Lionel Hampton Band, so he has some skill sets in music. Mm-hmm. I'm second generation, and I have 2 daughters behind me that make up the third generation. So that's who Dr. Howard is. I'm a firm believer, like I said, of legacy and making sure that I pass information along to the younger generations that follow behind me. Voila.
Yeah, and I can attest to that. When I remember when I was working over at Sandy Workforce Partnership, starting to connect the careers, I had reached out to you, and then we was able to get some interns through that program to work with you, and I think you helped with place some other interns over in the school district somewhere. I can't remember where they were exactly placed, but I know you were very instrumental in helping out and getting people involved in getting these youth jobs or internships. So I can attest to that. The daughters are in the business too. How did it's very rare that you see sometimes that the next generation of the kids want to go into the family business. What like, how did you get them to, be a part of the family business, and what was that transition like?
That's easy. I learned from white folks. Okay. When you look at the kids that the parents make them go to tennis school lessons early at 5 and 6 years old. Uh-huh. When you watch developing Pops, Warner, uh-huh. Pee-wee, baseball.
Yeah.
Okay, you watch the parents taking the kid, dragging the kids, and the kids don't necessarily want to get out there and do that.
Uh-huh.
I started taking my daughters very early, at very early ages, to all of the civic and social events that I was going to. Most people were not aware. I've been calling the Dr. Martin Luther King Parade, for example, for 39 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Every year you see me out there. But what you didn't see was my daughters were behind the scene watching what I would do. Okay. Mm-hmm. I would force them to come with me. Everybody loves a parade. That's the first thing. So it's not easy to bribe your daughters into coming to a parade. All right. It's hard to bribe them to sit there and watch what you do, because they're checking out the parade. They're checking out everything else that's going on. They see their friends that are in the parade, and they start thinking, I should be in the parade or whatever. All right. So my oldest, Summer, who's now with PayPal as an executive at PayPal, the first one I started using as a guinea pig. All right. And after I got her into it, I started creating events for nonprofits, which is how I leveraged my career, because I've been in broadcasting for 50 years now. I started in 1970 right here in America's finest city in San Diego.
Congrats.
So 2020 was my 50th year in broadcasting. All right. So I would get with nonprofits and I would say, let me create an event for you that can be a stellar event, or let me work with you on the event that you already have to see if I can, one, create some hype behind it, because I'm a hype person in broadcasting. Two, see if I can create some volunteers who want to come on to your cause. And three, let me see how I can work for you to raise some money for your organization. And nobody wants to turn down anybody who wants to raise money and he's on the radio. Okay, come on now. Yeah. You know? So the first thing we tried back in the 1970s, I was working with Brooks Huffman and Bill Lyons, who were the administrators of the Southeast Merchants Association, which was a group of black and brown merchants in Southeast San Diego, who would always do a Christmas party every year, right there on Imperial Avenue in front of Huffman's Barbecue. And that was that little plaza over there called Huffman's Plaza. Yeah. So when they brought me in, they said, how do we create some hype? I said, well, let's see if I can get this on the radio. And while I'm on the radio, let's see if I can get the TV stations tied into it. And then I said, let me go back to one or two of my alma maters and see if I can't. I said, can you give me an African-American Santa Claus? And he says, sure, we'll rent a Santa suit, and one of us, 300 pounds, we'll volunteer. And I said, fine, give me an African-American Santa Claus. So the first place I went to the United States Coast Guard Air Station across the street from the airport. And I went to the commanding officer and I said, I need a helicopter. And he looked at me like,
a helicopter?
Come on now, I'm going someplace. I said, I need a helicopter. And he says, but what do you need a helicopter for? You of all people. And I said, I got an African-American Santa Claus and I want to fly him into the hood. And he looked at me like, and I said, this is going to be good for the Coast Guard, because nobody black or brown knows what the Coast Guard looks like. They don't know that we have these beautiful orange and white helicopters. They don't know that we have a huge station over here across the street from the airport. They don't know what we do. So I kept going. Finally, he said, shut up. He gave me the helicopter. So I get the helicopter, I get a crew, and we get an African-American Santa Claus, 300 pounds. He's about 5'8", 5'9". And we put him in the helicopter with a bag of toys, and we fly him into Southeast San Diego on a Saturday. First, we publicize it on XHRM 92.5 at the time. And we went to the Department of Welfare, and he says, get all your families that are needy, that really need toys and food baskets. All right. So we had 1,000 kids lined up down Imperial Avenue with their families, and we got a park and rec stage, and we set it up on the street, and we flew Santa Claus in by helicopter and landed him, did a pinpoint landing. I used my brothers from the Black Police Officers Association and the Black Firefighters to block off the street, all right? And we landed Santa Claus successfully and put him in a fire truck and brought him around to Imperial Avenue in front of Huffman's, and he sat there all day on the stage taking photographs with the kids and giving away free toys and food baskets to needy families, and we did that for 7 years. It was called Operation Kids.
Wow.
KIDS, Kids in December with Santa.
Wow, that is an amazing story. You probably the only man I know that that brought Santa Claus to the hood on the helicopter.
Amen. And look what I did. We killed 3 birds with 1 touch. We got radio free of charge. We got the television stations to come out because they'd never seen that. All right. And they took pictures of the helicopter landing. We got the mayor to come out. All right. Not the politicians will come out of the woodworks to kiss babies. Right. All right. And then we got it in the newspapers. We got it in the Voice and Viewpoint. We got it in the San Diego Monitor News. We even got it a couple of years in the San Diego Union Tribune. So I healed 3 birds with 1 touch. We did an event in the community, and it was successful. We did it for 7 years. We got a lot of volunteers. We had the ladies dressed up in elves uniforms, right? We had Santa Claus. We took photographs. We got the Kodak Corporation gave us all the film free of charge. So that was a successful event, right? At that point, I began to realize something that I didn't know back then. 1, that I was a role model, and 2, that I was successful in leveraging my broadcast career with nonprofits that gave me more visibility, that helped me to compete with the ratings of radio and TV. How you like me now?
I like that. That was smart. That was genius.
You ready for the next event?
Go ahead. What's the next day? There's more?
Ready? You got a seatbelt?
Let me buckle up. All right, go ahead. Hit me.
Here we go. Okay. I got arrested and put in jail for breaking women's hearts over the radio.
What? How does that happen? How does one break a heart over the radio?
Well, I had a successful show called Music for Lovers, nothing but ballads every night, 5 nights. All right. And it would come on at night and I play nothing but ballads. I'm the guy who originated the Quiet Storm in San Diego.
You had too much Barry White on late night.
Hey, buddy, now you know where I'm going. There was a lot of other things going on at late night. Anyway, to make a long story short, here's how that event became successful. I go to Dr. Willie Morrow, who was running 92.5 at that time. I told him what my scheme was for this, and he says, okay. He says, I got what you're saying. He says, let's do this. So the police department comes down to the radio station in a squad car. The radio station was right there on Market Street, all right, in the California Curl building.
Yeah.
2 white officers, repeat, 2 white officers from the San Diego Police Department Academy. They didn't recognize they were in academy, they were in uniform, came up, and they came up to the receptionist and says, we have an arrest warrant for one Tayari Howard. They couldn't pronounce my name. It was Tayari, whatever. So the receptionist gets on the phone and calls Dr. Morrow. He walks on. He says, yes. And he escorts the police officers back to the operations. They go back to the operations. They see me in the room. I'm recording some public service announcements, and they put me in handcuffs. They walk me out of operations. They walk me past the sales department. They walk me past the promotions department. They walk me past management. They take me downstairs, put me in a squad car, and you see all the faces pressed up against the glass watching me in the squad car drive down to the county jail. Drive me down to the county jail. There's a black judge. His name was Napoleon Jones at the time, who knew me. We had already set all this stuff up in advance, right? And he says, they take me to where the judge is. He says, Tayari, you've been found guilty of breaking women's hearts over the radio on your musical show, Music for Lovers. Your bail is set at $1,000. You have 2 hours to raise your bail, or you'll be doing your show in the county jail tonight. Wow.
How much you raised?
I raised $1,500, $2,000, so I don't have to do my time in the jail cell. But the point was, the money that I raised it for was for the American Heart Association, and the thing was called cardiac arrest.
Oh, that is genius.
You get it?
I get it now. That was genius.
It was a success.
Oh, all right. Where do you come up with these brilliant ideas? Like, do they just land out of thin air, or are you talking to your buddies one day while y'all having some brews, and then like, you know what you should do? You know what? That's not a bad idea. Like, where do these ideas come from? Because you got some brilliant ideas.
Well, to be honest with you, I do a lot of praying.
Okay.
When you're in radio and television, you do a lot of praying. And do you know why?
Why?
Because you never know how long you're going to be in broadcasting at that one particular facility. ratings generate how long you stay on the air. Have you ever wondered, you see somebody on the television and you really like their style, and then a year later you don't see them anymore, and you wonder what happened? Who's this person? Yeah. Well, their contract ended, and they didn't get it renewed by the radio or the TV station, so they end up either going to another station in another city or another state, or they end up selling used cars on a used car lot. Okay? Well, I learned at an early age, in order to be competitive against, because San Diego and LA are two of the most competitive markets because of the warm climate. All right? This is like Los Angeles is like the number 2 and number 3 behind New York for radio and television. So what I started doing was creating ideas for events, or I would find a nonprofit that I could leverage my career with, that was willing to take me in as a volunteer. Okay. For example, Celebrity Waiters. United Cerebral Palsy recruited me to volunteer as a celebrity waiter. All right. Now, that was a successful event that I didn't particularly care for. I love United Cerebral Palsy. I love the volunteering part, but I don't like bussing tables. Okay. So as a celebrity waiter, you do whatever is necessary to raise money to make that guest feel that they're worth $1 million, and they pledge money based upon the celebrity waiter that's waiting at their table. That was another event. Now that event was created by United Cerebral Palsy. All right. The event by the American Heart Association called Cardiac Arrest was their event. They came up with the idea, but when they got me, I took it to a whole nother level, and I volunteered for them. You see what I'm saying? They had already set up the event, and their key was, let's find celebrities who can buy into this and really help us raise money. All right. So when they arrested me, when they talked to me, they says, we want you to come down here to the jail, and we want you to put on a prisoner uniform, okay, like an orange jumpsuit with a number on it, and we want you to pose in front of the jail cell. And I says, no, that ain't dramatic enough. No. Why don't y'all come, send the police all down to the radio station and arrest me at the radio station and put me in a squad car and take me down to the jail, and let's get a black man. I'll talk to the owner, the guy that's running the station, to make sure that he's comfortable with it. Okay. And I said, that way, have them come in the station and arrest me in the station. And when the people see me being arrested in the station, they'll say, oh my God, I knew he was a crook to begin with. Right. And when they take me out, they won't know what's going on. Only the owner and I will know what's going on. You get it?
Yeah, I get it.
Get on the phone. They're going to call their loved ones and guess who just got arrested in the radio station? Film at 11. Back then, that was our way of taking something viral, word of mouth. Okay. Yeah. All right. And that's what happened. It spread like wildfire. Tayari got arrested in the radio station. Well, what did he get arrested for? I don't know. But he got arrested. The police came down here and they put him in handcuffs and they took him. And Dr. Morrow was sitting there right there. And he couldn't do nothing about it.
I can only imagine how that traveled like wildfire especially through Southeast San Diego. I know everybody was on that. They were like, "You heard about what happened to Dr. Howard?"
So now I've given you an idea of 2 events that I did that were successful, and what I just kept doing is leveraging my career through visibility of a cause, nonprofit cause, okay, to compete against the other radio DJs. Now I decided, well, okay, because people were getting upset with me. The people in the industry, they would say, hey, man, you be doing all these things, just try to get publicity. We know what you're doing. We understand. Yeah. Okay. You don't really care about anybody else. You're competing, and this is how you compete. I said, oh, man, don't feel like that. So I called 30 DJs. I called 30 DJs and radio personalities. Okay. I said, look, this is in 2009. So I'm progressing. I'm sorry I talk a little fast, but the prenatal
no, you're fine.
The prenatal vitamins start to kick in around about this time. So I called 30 DJs and I said, look, man, this homeless problem that we got here in San Diego is getting out of hand. Okay. I'm looking at people, I'm looking at women and children sleeping out on the street downtown, and that ain't cool. I'm looking at military veterans, and I was a Vietnam veteran. I'm looking at military veterans sleeping out on the street. That ain't cool. We need to do something about it. Yeah, we need to do something about it. Well, what are we going to do? I says, let's go sleep out on the street and let's go bring awareness to the homeless and solicit volunteers and raise money to get people off the street into transitional homes. And say, hey, that's pretty cool. When you want to do it, let's do it in November. Why do you want to do it in November, man? It's cold in November here in San Diego, and it's raining. Exactly. No, I can't. I can't. How long you want to do it for? You an hour? No, let's do it for 30 days. Are you crazy? You want to sleep out on the street for 30 days in the month of November in San Diego when it's raining and cold? Yeah, we go out there about 11 or 12 o'clock at night. We get in a tent. Each man has a tent. We sleep in a prominent place. Where you going to sleep? Let's sleep out on 60th and Imperial Avenue in the hood. No, man, I don't want to get shot, raped, or kidnapped. So everybody turned me down. I'd already set this thing up, okay, to do it with an organization. The organization at that time was called the Trinity House. They were transitional homes for men and women. And so nobody would take me up on it. So what did Tayari do? Dr. Howard went out on the street by himself. I'm sleeping out on the street for 30 days or until I raise $10,000 for homelessness to get people off the street. A hand up, not a handout. Okay? Now, I go to my boss at the radio station. I says, I'm going to be sleeping out on the street for the next 30 days. And he looked at me like, oh, no, you're going to kill yourself. All right. So then he says, is this going to affect your airtime? I says, no, sir. I get off at 11 o'clock at night. I'm going out there after I get off. He says, okay, no problem. He says, I'll let my general manager know. So he calls the general manager and he tells him that I'm going out on the street. Right? You got this?
Yeah, I got it. I'm following you.
General manager says, wait a minute. Tayari is doing what? He's sleeping out on the street for the next 30 days to raise awareness for homelessness. Well, I got to call the headquarters to check on that to make sure that that's okay. So they call the headquarters, and headquarters says, well, is he on full time? Yeah. Is he on at night? Yeah. What's his ratings? He's number one at night. No, he can't do that. Well, we got a problem. Get the lawyers on the line. Get HR on the line. So they get HR on the line. They have a conference call. They get the lawyers on the line. The lawyer says, he has a contract, right? Yes. He's full time, right? Yes. He's making money, right? Yes. And he's representing the station? Yes. The answer is no, he can't do it. Why? Because number one, if he gets raped, if he gets kidnapped, if he gets shot, if he gets beat up where he's sleeping, then we incur the negative PR as a result of the fact that we allowed him to go do it. And he represents us and we represent him. We're joined at the hip. So they come back and they tell me, we're sorry, but you can't do it. And I says, well, I'm sorry. I guess I'm going to have to leave the station because I've already given my word that I would do that. And he says, what? You agreed to do that without asking us first? And I says, well, I didn't know I had to ask you first because when I leave here at 11 o'clock at night, I'm my own man. I go sleep in my own bed. I didn't know you owned me after 11 o'clock at night. So you see how this thing is getting deep, right? It's getting deep. So finally, long story short, they agreed to allow me to sleep out on the street under two conditions. You ready?
What was the two conditions?
They could provide a security guard that would be out there with me for the hours that I'd be out there sleeping in the tent so that nothing would happen to me, all right? And two, that they could publicize the event and I would agree to give them 2 minutes every day, 2 minutes to be on the air to tell people, the listeners, what it's like to be homeless. And I agreed because at the time I didn't realize I was going to get publicity for this for free. Okay. So what they didn't tell me, you ready for this? What they didn't tell me is that they were going to sell it to someone or an organization that could get publicity out of this. So where did they have me sleep? You ready?
Where?
Off of Mission Gorge Road in front of IKEA store. Why?
Really?
Why?
Yeah, because why is that?
IKEA has a large populace of traffic coming into the shopping center off of Mission Gorge Road. So the more traffic, the more people, the more hype, the more publicity. And the IKEA was hoping they'd make money out of it. You get it?
Yeah.
So I go out there the first night. Now keep in mind, how long am I sleeping out there now? How many days?
30 days.
30 days. Or until I do what?
Get 10,000.
There you go. All right. So first night I go out there, it's 40 degrees It's raining cats and dogs. All right. I'm starting to think I put my foot in my mouth.
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah.
I ain't feeling too good about this. And I'm sleeping on concrete in a tent. By the next morning, going into Monday, here comes a TV truck, a white truck with a remote antenna. You seen those antennas they prop up so they can go live on the AK? Okay.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, on the 11 o'clock news, the 10 o'clock news is DJ goes homeless. Film at 11. KUSI TV 51. Then here comes Fox 5. Then here comes Channel 10. Then here comes NBC TV 39. Then here comes CBS Channel 8. Well, by the next morning, when I go on the air at 7:35 in the morning for my 2 minutes to tell people what it's like to be homeless, all these TV stations have reported this. And people are calling in over the air at the radio station upset. Why you let him do that? Y'all not right. Okay? Then you should be ashamed of yourself. Okay? Meanwhile, guess what I do when I go on the air for my 2 minutes to tell them what it's like to be homeless? Nobody told me that I had a script to follow. So what do? I said, well, last night at 3:35 in the morning, I woke up and I had to use the bathroom. But there were no porta potties out here in the shopping center. So I had to use the bathroom in the bush while the security guard stood there and watched. How do you think that went across on radio?
Oh man, they was like they probably was cringing. It was like,
That's not exactly what IKEA wanted to hear. But the ratings went off the chart. The telephones went crazy. They broke the phone system at the radio station calling in. The pledges went through the roof. To make a long story short, I raised $17,000 in a week in 7 days.
Wow.
You get the moral of the story?
Yeah, get the moral of the story. It's just brilliant. I'm just taking it all in. Because I think even some of what you saying can still work to this day. Like,
of course.
Of
course. We can steal a helicopter and fly Santa Claus into the hood.
Oh, yeah, we might have to talk about that offline. I might have to take you up on that offer.
Nobody knew that I worked 4 years besides being in the United States Coast Guard. I also volunteered for 4 years with the San Diego Police Department. So who better to go to than the police department and put Santa Claus in a police helicopter with a siren on it and fly him into the hood?
Yeah.
The problem is, though, when we turn on the siren, people standing in the line start running for cover.
They're like, I can't stay here. I got warrants. All right, we gotta go.
So there you go, man. There's 3 truthful stories, and as a result, I'm now in my 4th career.
There.
You do know that, right?
I do know that. You told me a little bit about it, but for those who just listening, following, tell us about what this new career journey looks like for you. What's the 4th career look like?
4th career is I've now started my own corporation called Legacy Media Publishing, Promotions, and Productions, Inc. And I've written a series of books. I've finished 3 manuscripts. One called The Power of Cause, based upon cause marketing. Okay. Another one's called Radioactive, based upon a radio personality who active in the community. And the third one is a documentary called Radio in My Blood, which tracks my mother, my father, my daughters in the business of broadcasting, African American, over 91 years. And we hope to turn that into a movie for TV. So the idea now is to find ordinary people doing extraordinary things, and develop their book with the potential of hopefully putting them into either a documentary or a movie. And the person that gave me the idea was 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson. And Okay. Plus, remember the movie Empire, the TV series Empire?
Yeah.
You remember the television show Empire? Well, I've had a career similar to Empire, so I think I can develop this into a feature film. So that's it. That's my 4th career.
That's loosely your life right there. Like, that's loosely your life. When we look at Empire, there's a lot of remnants to, you know, how your career evolved, and except for you got a legacy behind that you could tell the whole backstory to, from your parents and so
Exactly.
forth, that we didn't get to see in Empire.
You're right. You're right. I mean,
So
because it should start out with my mother and my father. You're right. You're right.
yeah,
I've been blessed with an opportunity that goes a lifetime and spans generations. So the moral of the story is you sometimes people don't recognize that their life is a film or their life is a show and everybody is on stage. They have to be able to tell the
mm-hmm.
story. And what I hope I've demonstrated is I've told you three stories of how my DJ radio personality career has spanned over 50 years, and I'm still excited. I'm still happy. I still wake up every day saying it's another day above ground, another opportunity to get it right. I go where I'm celebrated,
Right.
not where I'm tolerated. I'm excited about life because of the life that I've already lived.
You know, I say the same thing, because every time I have a conversation with you, I feel your energy. I get rejuvenated. I get re-inspired. And so I always love having conversations with you. By the way, if anybody who's listening, let me explain to you what I see behind this man. There's a wall full of accolades. And then there's one other accolade that I just saw you got. You're now at the San Diego History Museum. So they're featuring a fine piece on you for African American history. Congrats on that. Take us through for the people listening. What some of the plaques on the behind that wall right there? Give us a rundown of what I'm seeing. Some of the things I see in that background there.
When I go to talk to students, like at Lincoln High, seniors and graduating students, they're excited that I was a DJ or personality. I don't like to use that term anymore because DJ is disc jockey, which originated back in the 1940s. I was a personality who became a media luminary, who became an icon as a result of in my community and giving back. But these plaques behind me are some of the artists that I played on the air that I was successful in breaking over the radio, that sold 500,000 copies or more, which would be a gold album, or a million or more. I have Janet Jackson on the wall that sold 4 million copies of Rhythm Nation. I have Prince on the wall. I have Michael Jackson on the wall. And the reason for setting it up like this, I don't know if you saw what's the golf player, they had the accident just recently, Tiger Woods. I don't know if you saw the Tiger. Yeah, if you saw the HBO Tiger Woods story, when they went into his home, he had a whole wall of plaques and accolades, okay, to show his success in golf. Well, I'm a firm believer of documenting my story rather than telling you my story, because we can talk all day long and you say, man, this guy, I wonder what he's smoking, or I wonder what he's drinking, because he is so high. He is so naturally high. You know what I mean?
Tell them it's your vitamins. They kicked in the vitamins.
Right. You know, but they don't. Half the stuff I tell them, they don't believe. Like most people would never believe I was able to steal or commandeer or kidnap a helicopter from the United States Coast Guard and put an African American Santa Claus in it and fly it in the hood. That's it. No, come on. Where's your proof? All right. So I have to go back and show them the newspaper articles and the clips of the video from the TV stations that recorded it to prove that I did what I said. I did exactly that. Okay. People would never believe that I slept out on the street, okay, and raised money for homeless people and gave the money to them, and I didn't make a dime out the deal. They don't believe that kind of stuff. Okay. They don't believe I got arrested for breaking women's hearts over the radio. Who does that kind of thing? You got put in jail for being a DJ? No, I don't want to. Don't even tell me that. Okay. So this is
I mean, it does sound hard to believe, but I mean, I guess I believe it now after knowing you and getting to know you through your history of and body of work that you've done in San Diego, and just talking to you and the fellas from God's Radio One. So I believe all of it, but I think somebody fresh off the street not knowing you would be like, nah, he full of it. That old man, he delusional. So I can see that happening.
Exactly what they say.
So
Your old man, they want to know what alcohol am I drinking or what am I smoking? Okay, because I'm, even though I'm an OG, okay, as they call it, I'm an OG, but they say OGs have a tendency to hallucinate. Okay,
Right.
so that's it.
So, all right, let's do this. I want to take it back to the beginning because I mean, your story is fascinating, the journey. I always like to take it back to the beginning because a lot of people that have limiting beliefs, they believe, oh, well, he's accomplished all this because he was in the right place, right time. He's just, everything just worked out for him. And I like to show people the journey. Like, sometimes we all start from humble beginnings, and it's not how you start; it's about the journey and how you finish, right? So,
Yes.
did you always have a radio job, or what was your first job? Give me a breakdown what your first job was.
Well, in San Diego, my first job was the United States Coast Guard. I was attached to the air station right across from the airport. So that was my first job. I spent 7 years in the Coast Guard, the regular 4 and 3 years in the reserve. And while in the Coast Guard, I was going to San Diego City College. All right. Shout out to City College. And I was on air at KSDS Jazz 88.3 for 2 years. All right. At the same time, I was working weekends for a local radio station, black, called Kumba. Okay. And Kumba would lease time from KPBS FM 89.5 just to be on the air to play black music on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. That's a piece of history that few people know about. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then I got picked up at XHRM 92.5, which is a Mexican station. All right. And at the time, Gloria and Travis Downs, who ran On Target record stores, would have us come into their record store, which is located off of Federal, and record our shows on 10-inch reels. And then a courier would come across, pick up the reels, and take them across the border and play them in Tijuana. All right. That was our way to get into radio because they wasn't really hiring black radio personalities or announcers here in San Diego. So it wasn't until 1980. Now, in 1980, I was working full time for San Diego Gas and Electric. All right, from 7 a.m. to 3:30 in the afternoon. And Dr. Willie Maher took over 92.5. XHRM is a Mexican station. Anything with an X call letter is broadcasting out of Tijuana. XHTZ, Jam and Z90, 91X. These are Mexican stations. All right.
Yeah.
Dr. Maher took over the station. He required all his DJs or personalities to go across the border into Tijuana and go up into the transmitter and broadcast from the transmitter. So I get off from San Diego Gas Electric at 3:30 in the afternoon, come home, change clothes, shower and shave, and drive across the border to be on the air at a 50,000 watt station. Now, many people will say, well, why would you do that? Well, number one, I couldn't get a job on the air other than working at a college station, not getting paid to be in my profession, my chosen profession. Number two, to show you how God played into this, going across the border into a foreign country, into a transmitter that broadcasts 50,000 watts was like Wolfman Jack, because at night on the air, that 50,000 watt travels all the way up to Los Angeles. So we're hearing music for lovers in LA and we're wondering, who the hell is this cat? That's what exploded my career, because I did that for well over 10 years. Okay. From that, I landed a job at Jam and Z90. I left 92.5 in 1989, went to Jam and Z90 in 1990, and stayed there for 4 years from 1990 to 1994. All right. Then in 1995, I landed my first American job on this side of the border with KIFM Smooth Jazz 98.1 and stayed there for 16 years.
Wow.
So all total, I've been in broadcasting on air 50 years because I left KIFM Smooth Jazz 98.1 in 2011, started my own stations, the Tayari Media Group, KKSDjazz.com, and KBlack, KBOKradio.com in 2013, and stayed there till the pandemic kicked in 2019. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Or 2020. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Okay. I wish we had crossed paths because I remember my first attempt at radio was Magic 92.5 back when it was at National City.
Yeah.
Right off the mile of cars when it was when it used to be there at
Right
that location.
Yeah.
I think the X-Man was there. I'm not sure if he's still there or not, but
He's still there. Javier the X-Man. He's still with
Javier. Gotcha. So I haven't tuned in a while. So yeah, I'm just fascinated by that journey and the sequence and seeing how you was able to make small sacrifices, right? So that you can do what you love until you could officially full time make it into a career. And I think some people don't understand the sacrifice of what it takes to be great. Sometimes it's you didn't get paid the whole way.
No. and may I say this? What's profound about my career is this: I was able to because I never knew my daughters had me under a microscope and were watching me closely. Sometimes you can't talk to kids; you have to show them. You have to send a subliminal message. And they watch you closely and see, do you walk the walk? Do you talk the talk? And so as a result of my career and my community involvement, my daughters ended up doing what I did better than me. And at some point between 1980 up until today, I've mentored over 300 students that in some way or another still working in the profession, one way or the other, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. The last show that I did before the pandemic started was we had 5 black young men graduate out of Lincoln High. And we were able to, doing my mentorship at KBlack, KBOK, we got them on air doing a show every weekend, once a week, called Message from the Youth. Where these kids are still broadcasting a podcast to this day in terms of young men who came out of Lincoln High, who took my little mentorship course and started their own podcast. And the result, they're still doing that as a result of our association to this day.
Nice. I love that. Now, what some advice would you give to somebody, whether it be a young person or somebody who's latter in their career, who's listening to this and listen to your story and they're ready to make a pivot in their life, or they're about to start their career journey? What's some advice you could give them and they're inspired by your story and they're like, I've always wanted to get into media, but just didn't know how. Now I'm ready to put in the work. What's some advice you would give to them?
Well, I work off of affirmations.
Okay.
I have over 1,000 affirmations that I use. And one of the affirmations I always use for myself that I'm willing to loan to anybody out there listening is, if it's about to be, it's up to me. If it's about to be, it's up to me. Meaning, you can hate me, you can dislike me, you can be jealous of me, you can tell me I ain't going to make it, because there's 1,000 people that told me, man, first of all, you ain't tall enough to be a DJ. Firstly, you ain't got a 10-foot afro. 3, you ain't got a good set of pipes. You don't sound like, and when I started playing all that sexy music on radio, people thought I was a joke. But after a year it kicked in, there were more babies born on my show than Johnny Carson. Okay. So that's why I was in like Flint. Okay, you can't tell me nothing, right? Music Lovers was a hit. And anytime the police department and a black judge and the jail, okay, get involved in and a nonprofit get involved in arresting you and putting you in a jail cell for breaking women's hearts over the radio, obviously they love that scheme and it raised money. Anytime I can go sleep out on the streets by myself in San Diego and raise $17,000 and give it away to get somebody off the street, then you can't tell me I'm not a hit and I don't know what the heck I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't give up on yourself. You don't let anybody tell you that you can't do what you want to do. First of all, you're living in the greatest nation on the world, on the planet. It's called the United States of America. And I realize we are going through some trying times. Okay. Okay. I realize there's some police reform and some other things and some political stuff that's taking place. All right. And affirmative action is dead and gone. Okay. But first of all, quit running with pigeons and start running with eagles. That's another one of my affirmations. In other words, find somebody that's willing to mentor you and get with them and stick with them. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, there are people in my path that helped me along the way that if they didn't do any more than their work ethic created inside me, I need to be like that brother. There were several heroes coming up when there was the Fly Guy Jock, Tom Joyner. Okay. Mm-hmm. There was Wolfman Jack. Okay. There was a white guy here in San Diego by the name of Shotgun Tom Kelly that I used to follow. Okay. I always wanted to be a Don Cornelius, swag. And, when the word swag wasn't even being used, that man had swag. Don Cornelius on Soul Train. All right. Here's an untold story. I contacted the TV station and they agreed to film a video show out of my house because I wanted to be like Don Cornelius. Okay.
Yeah.
That's one episode. That was it.
Oh man!
Hey, you can't be afraid to fail. All right, you get knocked down, you get back up, and you keep going. All right, that's it. That's the motto.
You know, I think that's what keeps a lot of people back to the fear of failure. And I think sometimes you need that failure so you know what didn't work, when it worked, you can move forward, right?
Yes.
But if you just stay stuck like Chuck, you ain't going nowhere. You just stand stagnant. So either move forward and push through, or take the fall, learn the lesson, and get back up and try again.
And I'll say this: people look at this wall behind me, because not a lot of people visit me in my home, but I've heard people say, well, Tayari, that's vanity. And I'll say to them, that's not vanity. I'm not boasting about the things that I've done. I'm telling a story, number one. Number two, I'm proving through my archives that I've done exactly what God has blessed me to do, number two. Number three, you can't tell me that I'm not doing what if they talk about, are you living God's will? Well, you can't tell me that I'm not living God's will. All right. I've been blessed to exercise my mouth vehemently, and I'm doing a really decent job of it. And hopefully the stories that I tell excite people, energize people, enlighten people, educate people to the point where I want to be like Mike. Hell, no, I want to be like Tayari or Toyota or Tayari.
Okay? And here's the thing: God has given you this gift because He wanted you to use that gift, and that was the purpose of you had. And that vision and that gift was meant for you and solely you, not for them. They need to find whatever their gift is, because they can't see it. So they would look at this as vanity instead of looking at it as inspiration and documentation.
And I didn't go out and solicit myself to be at the San Diego the San Diego History Museum. I wasn't even expecting that. All of a sudden, I get called and says, "Hey, man, I see your face on a wall down here." And I'm thinking he's talking about the post office, right? I'm saying, "Oh my God, I'm on the post office FBI wanted wall." He said, he said, "You want a wall plaque down here at the San Diego History Museum?" I said, "What?" And he says, "Let me shoot a picture." And he shot a picture of it. She shot a picture of it, and she sent it to me. And I says, "Oh my God. I'm in the San Diego History Museum as doing Nate Harris, because the whole exhibit is about Nate Harris, an African American pioneer who was up in the Cuyamacas, and then they decided to make it add onto it African American heritage, and I'm one of the wall plaques in the African American heritage section, and I said, it doesn't get much better than that. When you don't lobby for yourself and other people recognize you because they've been watching you over the years. Remember I said about being under a microscope, and
Mm-hmm.
they turn around and take your accomplishments and move them forward without
Mm-hmm.
you pitching yourself. That's the
Yeah,
beautiful thing to me.
that is a beautiful thing.
I'd rather be recognized before I die than
Uh,
after I die.
yeah. Give me my flowers now.
Yeah, Ice Cube says he said, "Hey, if you love me now, send me the flowers now." It reminds me of the joke where the guy goes to the funeral, and there's flowers all around the casket, right? This guy
Yeah.
walks in with a pot of greens. He had mustard greens, he had collard greens, and he takes the greens up to the podium and places them on the casket. And everybody's looking at him like, "What is this fool doing?" They're smelling the aromas and everything is fine. Somebody said, "You got a lot of nerve to bring a pot of collard greens." And he said, "Well, if he can smell them flowers in the casket, he can smell my greens."
Oh my goodness, I
So there
love it.
you
I
go.
love it. Oh, wait, all right. So, Doctor Howard, I feel like you lived and well, no, you're living a nice full life and have I know abundance of life lessons and stories. What would you say? One good lesson that life has taught you.
People, here's the answer. People ask me every day, "How are you?" And I respond, "It's another day above ground and another
Uh-huh.
opportunity to get it right. I'm still trying to get it right."
Uh-huh.
What has life learned me? Every day is a gift.
Uh-huh.
Live the gift, and live the gift for that day, not for tomorrow, because tomorrow's not promised to you.
Mm, that's so true. So true. Sometimes people get stuck looking at the future or worrying about what they did in the past and not realizing the present is a gift.
Yes, yes. Today is a gift. I'm being interviewed by a young man who, to some degree, has become me and is going beyond me. And that's a blessing. I'm
Mm,
being interviewed by the next Tayari.
mm,
I'm being interviewed by the next technological breakthrough, podcasting. All right. There was no such word when I came up in 1970.
mm,
Podcasting didn't exist. We were still dealing with 8 tracks. Okay.
mm,
Then we went to cassettes. Then we went to CDs. Now we're at
mm,
MP3s and MP4s, and technology continues to grow. All right. So I embrace Generation X, Y, and Z for what
mm.
they will do. And if they need me to encourage them, no problem. I'll be the sounding block. I'll take them up to the top of the mountain and show them what it looks like on the other side. Okay, no problem.
I appreciate that and I receive that. So, speaking of the future, what do you think the future has in store for this industry, for this media industry that you have mastered and built, and you're in your second wave? What do you think the future has in store, especially for young Black people? What does the future have in store?
Well, that's an easy question. That's the easiest question you've asked me all morning. Look at you. Look at you. You're sitting in your home someplace, globally broadcasting a podcast to what could be millions and billions of people, inspiring them, energizing them, educating them, enlightening them with a small technological piece of equipment. And there's nothing but accolades and accomplishments and all kinds of things that hopefully we are putting into people's brains. So what do I see for Black people? If one Black man can get in his bathroom and turn on a microphone with some headphones and broadcast to millions of people across the world, it says the sky's the limit. All right.
Mm,
For me, it says everything I've told you in the hour that we've had together, I can put into a book. That makes it a legacy. Now I can
mm,
take that book and I can put it into a film. That makes it an even bigger legacy. All right. Now that film can go beyond. So there is no limit. The limit is locked up in your head. You have to unlock the limit so that you can travel beyond your expectations.
Mm, I love that.
How am I doing?
You're doing great. You're doing great. You're giving them. Hey, I might have to charge them for this episode. Hey, you're giving them too much.
We got to make some money someplace. We got to make some money.
All right. So, I think me and you, we could talk for hours on end. But I try to keep it an hour length for people to listen to so they can get and I think we've given them a lot to chew on. So let's end it like this. What projects are you currently working on and where can people find you?
They can find me at KBLK Radio 1. K like kite, B like boy, L like Larry, K like kite, radio, RADIO 1 at gmail.com. They can find me on Facebook, www.facebook.com/William Tayari Howard. I have a professional account as a professional, and I have a personal account. I got about 10,000 people that follow me from my broadcast. I've got about 5,000 people on LinkedIn. I've got a YouTube account. So if Facebook is probably the easiest place to find me, and you can see some of the stuff that we've talked about in this interview there. That's the easiest place. And you can leave me a message me in Messenger, and I will respond. Okay? So no problem there.
Yes, I can attest. That's how I got him to come on. He responded to my message in Messenger. Dr. Howard, has been a pleasure. Congrats again. And if you missed any of the sites where to follow him, don't worry, I'm gonna get it from him. I'll put them in the notes of the podcast when it airs and his website, and get all that information for everybody. Thank you for blessing us again. Any last words for the people before we sign off?
Peace be unto you, my brothers and sisters.
All right, there you go. Peace be unto you, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Risepreneurs.